Rummy X back in our video. If you guys all enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Share the video to a friend like so this or same content in general, as I do want to hit 30,000 subscribers. And with that being said, check out the affiliate links in the description down below, and we can now begin the video. What if Naruto had a mentor? We begin this video with a conversation between Sasuke and Naruto. Naruto, for a preface at this point, is about 12 years old. And with that being said, we can now continue the video. So, Naruto, Sasuke asked. Naruto breaking up and looking over at Sasuke. What? Well, the training regimen that you went over with me, it went pretty well in my head. So I have a question. Does the question have to do with our training? No, not necessarily. So then why is it so important? Well, I guess you could say it's curiosity. Well, go on. What's your question? You're so strong, fast, your agility is similar to that of Kakashi, your skills are as if you've been training your whole life. You have jutsu that even I couldn't fathom, that no genin should be able to use. I must ask, who trained you, Naruto? Naruto began to burst into laughter. The whole question that Sasuke just asked made him laugh. He knew what Sasuke was going to ask the moment that he began to mention his speed, his strength, his skill. He continued laughing until he looked at Sasuke's dead stare. Sasuke wouldn't let up. He continued looking straight at Naruto. And so Naruto realized he was serious. He wanted a serious answer. And while his laughing wasn't doing very much at all, except for maybe possibly annoying or angering Sasuke. And so Naruto spoke. His tone even changed a little, as if reminiscing on an old friend. Her name. Her? Yes, her. Her name was Katana. Or her real name, anyway. I just called her Kat. Or if I was really mad, Katana. Or if I was serious, just Katana. I know in the East she was referred to as Katan. But to me, she was just Kat. In full, her name is Katana Titanica. She was strong, sharp, and just as her name, Katana, she was fierce. She was the mightiest woman I've ever met in my entire life. And the strongest individual I've ever met. Male or female. What was she like? She wasn't nice. She was harsh. Well, then how did you survive? I went through it. She was rude to me at first. I believe that at one point she may have even hated me. I'm not sure what happened, what changed. But the fact of the matter is, we got past it. She became nice, I suppose. Well, describe her greater. I want to know more about this mentor of yours. Mentor. I prefer the word master, but mentor works too. She was insane. What? Insane? Yes, borderline insane. Of course, she was great. Kind, nice, honest, sincere. But there was a side of her that was evil, dark, insane, borderline crazy, overly enthusiastic. I could name so many flaws about that part of her character, it's actually unreal. Then why'd you stick around so long? I'm assuming that that day that you left the academy was when you started training with her? If she's this insane person that you speak of, then why'd you stay for so long? I didn't blame her for being insane. When you live that long, it's what, Naruto? Listen, Sasuke. When you live as long as Katana did, Naruto. If you're not gonna spit it out, that's fine. Honestly, it's not that important. The thing is, I'm really curious about where all your power came from. You come back from the village 4 years later and you're different. Stronger. Of course, you and I weren't friends until, a few weeks ago? I've learned so much about you except for about this katana. This master of yours. Fine, I'll give you your answer straight. She saw everyone she loved die. I didn't blame her for that. Of course she'd go insane. What? How old was your mentor? Were you trained by some old hag? Old hag? No. She was a woman who had managed to obtain a form of immortality. I believed that it was permanent, that nothing could kill her. I had seen her been stabbed right through her with so many blades. They pierced her, but they never broke her. She was like an unbreakable rock until the day of the incident. The incident? What do you mean by that? That day, it loops in my mind every single night like a horrible nightmare. I can't go a week without seeing it. Whether it's in my head, a flashback, PTSD, or a dream. I wake up some nights shaking in my bed. Other nights, I wake up in a cold sweat, a chill. I cannot describe the feeling. No one could. Well, what happened on that day, the incident? The incident? Do you really want to know, Sasuke? Sasuke sat quietly, looking at Naruto. As Naruto continued. We went on a mission together. Heck, she took me on many missions. C, D, B, A. Some of the missions we went on were even S rank. Mind you, she saved my ass more times than I can count. Actually, for the most part, she was protecting me like an invisible shield wall. But there was one day where she had faith in my ability, faith in my strength. And I let her down. We were not a two-man squad, we had others with us. The others were of royal blood to a nearby village that we were serving. They were very important. So much so that because I lost them, they became hostages. Put up for ransom, but Katana was a high-ranking member of the village, and she knew very well that they could not afford such a high ransom, and that if they could not pay, then the sons of royal blood would die. She could not allow two innocent boys to die. They were still children, yet they traveled with us because they believed in our two-man squad. They were safer than being guarded by 18, 100, or even 300 men. But no. I messed up. A simple mistake I made caused them to become hostages, and, well, it caused Katana to what, Naruto? There were 700 men in front of her, and she laid down her life to save those hostages, and she did. I don't remember what happened, but I woke up in a bloodbath. She had slaughtered more than half of them, and she was blood red. I wasn't sure if the blood was from her enemies or the blood was her own. She trained me to have a nose similar to that of the Inuzuka. Similar to that of Kiba, actually. His clan, that is. I could smell her blood. The iron was different. It smelled more of testosterone and estrogen at the same time. Meaning that the blood was equally hers and, well, other nations' men. You see, the men attacking us were not lowly bandits. They were a group of mercenaries collected. Men who fell under one flag, but were to all nations. Ninja from all corners of the world. It was, dare I say it again, it was a bloodbath. It angered me severely. I couldn't do anything, so in my blind rage, I picked up my blade and I began to cut. I cut deep into men who I'd never knew. I took my first life. And I didn't care. I didn't stop there. I went on and on. Man after man after man. Why should I have cared? I shouldn't have. There was no reason for me to. But I think that Katana believed I should have. So when she saw me pick up the blade and cut endlessly into man after man, Jonin, Chunin, Genin, it didn't matter if they were the same age as me or twice my age. I cut them down as if they were a herd of sheep and I was a bull. A tiger, a lion. I was the king of the jungle in that moment, and she saw something in me that she didn't like. Something that she hated. She was always about teaching me life lessons. Lessons that I should remember for the rest of my life, and that's what she did in her final moments. Her final moments? There were still roughly 250 of them, I'm certain of that. I could sense their chakras. She also taught me how to do such a thing. She was so good at sensory ninjutsu that she managed to teach me how to distinguish individual chakra signatures in a group of 300. To deduce exactly how many ninja there were in a certain group of ninja if I could not tell based off of my eyesight, if I could not react fast enough to notice. She taught me everything I know now, and what did she do in the end? She sacrificed herself so that I could learn a life lesson. And what was that life lesson, Naruto? Funny enough, it was so that I never took a life like that without showing any sort of remorse. I don't know where it came from, but she always had a horse. She said something about it being a summoning jutsu, but I honestly don't believe her. Why don't you believe her? Well, who can summon a freaking horse? No one I know. She taught me the eagle summoning, which, before she died, she used. She looked back at me while riding her horse forward to the men in front of her. She drew her blade once more and wiped it down on her brown cloth, the cloth that covered her skin, her robe. And then as her blade was clean, she began to thrust it into the hearts of many men. They fell to their knees, of course. All of them died. It was a simple endeavor for her. But one of them was different. They struck her. What? They striked her down right in front of me, cut a line across her chest. So much blood, that's all I remember. Do you know what that does to a boy, Sasuke? It does unimaginable things. It changes the way that one thinks. For me personally, I know that it hurt. It hurt more than anything has ever hurt. When you grow such an emotional attachment to somebody and you watch as they die before your eyes. You. I know. What do you mean you know? Who in your life have you lost, Sasuke? My whole entire clan was slaughtered by my elder brother before my eyes. I think that's fair. Naruto paused. He didn't know if he should keep the same demeanor, show a little bit of shocked expression, an apologetic face, maybe. Instead, he pushed on. And how did that make you feel, Sasuke? Sasuke grit his teeth. Weak. His eyes shifted into the Sharingan, the second Tomoe to be exact, as Naruto went on. I lost my mentor, someone who I was exclusively with for what? Years? 3 to be exact. Murdered right in front of me where I didn't even have the means to stop her. At the age of 11, the massacre was years ago. You weren't expected to be able to protect anything. Not even a stray cat. I was a well-respected, nearly Kage-level ninja who fought alongside Katana Titanica, entrusted with protecting the royal bloodline of the village hidden in... Naruto paused. The village hidden in destiny. Destinia. So what makes you think that you understand me? You don't understand what it's like. We've both been through heartbreak. Not romantically, but emotionally, I'm sure of it. You and I are not the same. We will never be the same. Because my pain. Sasuke grabbed the kunai out of his ninja pouch as he brandished it towards Naruto, as if ready to block, attack, or, well, injure Naruto. Because... Naruto clapped his hands together. Because my pain is far greater than yours! Sasuke braced himself for an attack. He was ready. But so was Naruto. Naruto was ready to send Sasuke into, what? A clearing of trees. While Sasuke was ready to defend himself from whatever Naruto had planned. Now. Almighty push! It would be then that Sasuke would be sent flying into the stump of a tree. His kunai did nothing to protect him. The sheer force of the attack was enough to send him off his feet the moment that the air caught him. He was defenseless to Naruto. Someone so skilled, so strong, he had nothing. No jutsu, no attack that could rival Naruto's. He was like an ant being crushed at the feet of some little boy, or even an adult at that. And with that, he looked up at Naruto, whose eyes now had changed. What is that? Sasuke, I need to tell you this. What? These eyes. Well, they're my destiny, you could say. And as for where we are now, I'm sure you've noticed. Haku's gone. What? This is a genjutsu I've created that mimics reality. Anything that you can do in real life, you can do here. Except for die. Heck, you could even train here if you so wished. It's similar to that of a space-time ninjutsu, although it's a genjutsu. And For such a jutsu to be successful, I need some sort of trust. Some sort of trust by the person that I am inflicting said genjutsu on, that is. I see. So that's how you got me trapped up in this. Precisely. I'm going to release the genjutsu now. I will kill Haku. Why? It's no use sparing him. Zabuza's chakra signature has begun to weaken. It's been stagnant in its movement, meaning that Kakashi has somehow pinned him down. I'd assume that Kakashi is some sort of finisher that he will use on Zabuza. He knows over 1,000 jutsu. Sasuke nodded, and the genjutsu came to a close. Naruto now stared directly up at Haku, with a smirk. Haku Yuki, mercenary that fights alongside Zabuza... what was it? Momochi? Or was it Hoshigake? No, Hoshigake was the other swordsman. It's Momochi for sure. You talk awfully a lot when the black-haired boy is quiet. You could say that I'm background noise. Now then, are you ready to put this to an end, Haku? Tuh. With your defeat, yes. You will fall. I will be victorious, and I will help Zabuza take out Kakashi. Naruto threw a kunai towards one of the ice mirrors. Haku quickly dodged. Naruto then threw another. Then he pulled out 3. With a secret one concealed behind his back as he threw them, Haku dodged all 3 of his individual kunais as he sent another one that was a surprise. The surprise one nearly hit Haku, which allowed Naruto to deduce just how fast Haku was. Faster than the speed of light, Naruto said to himself. Huh. That's quite interesting. I don't think I've met a lot of people as fast as you. Or is it this jutsu that allows you to be this fast? I'm assuming that's the case, right? If that is the case, then, well... I must ask. Has anyone ever survived this jutsu? No. You will be added to a long list of people. Losers who have fallen to it. You also talk quite a bit, don't you? No. But I sympathize with you. We are nearly the same age, I think. So then why? Why must we fight? Tell me. We can put an end to this conflict. I will leave this ice mirror and kill Zabuza no matter what you do. You have a chance to live, survive, have children, start a family, live out your dreams. I don't know, become a scholar if you want. Anything. Anything is imaginable in the world that we live in, and you choose to waste your life laying it down for some lowlife. Naruto looked to the ground. I suppose I've made decisions such as you. I've spent my life doing all sorts of things, and I've no right to judge. But the fact of the matter is, this fight was over the minute that you began it. Naruto Uzumaki was always stronger than Haku Yuki. You see, it was in the cards. Fate made it be so. Naruto's eyes shifted from the light blue color that it usually is to a darker hue. It then began to have rings with it. A black dojutsu of sorts, a black eye. What dojutsu is that? Is it a version of the Sharingan? No. Me and Sasuke are not related. Well then, what is it? It's the... well... many don't know what it is. But it's known as the Stenyagan. An ancient dojutsu that my mentor bestowed upon me. Katana Titanica, first user of the Destinagon. Or Destinagon, I suppose. Now then, when my Destinagon is open, activated, I can see the future. I can see what fate and destiny has in store, and it shows your death. Naruto grit his teeth. He then turned, sidestepped himself, created a shadow clone, and sent it flying towards the ice mirrors, exploding it. The dust allowed Haku to not see, as he sent kunai to all corners of the room. Attached to these kunais were paper bombs. The paper bombs exploded upon impact. He rushed to where he saw Haku first, slamming his fist into the ice mirror and crashing right through it. But Haku wasn't there. He caught Haku mid-mirror swap, pulling Haku out of the ice mirrors and slamming him down into the ground. It would be then that he pulled out a katana that he only kept in remembrance to his former mentor's name. He then thrusted it through Haku's chest, going right through his heart and killing him without another word or question, another second to live. Naruto stood up, pulling his blade out. He then checked Sasuke's vitals. He knew Sasuke would recover as he left the ice mirrors. It would be then that Kakashi was about to prepare the Chidori. As Naruto appeared behind Zabuza, Kakashi could already see the bloodlust in his eyes. He unreleased his jutsu, deactivated it even, as he watched Naruto thrust his katana right through Zabuza's heart as well. Naruto then spoke. Zabuza had 1 second to speak, and all he said is how. Naruto went on with his words. How? How what? How did I appear behind you? It's called speed, Zabuza Momochi. You're the demon of the mist. Surely you could have come up with a better explanation in your head, couldn't you have? A lowly, quote-unquote, genin, coming up from behind and stabbing you right through your heart. It should be noted that your student met the same fate. Naruto pulled out his blade, letting blood flow down his katana. He then wiped the blood down on his clothing. Let's get back to the village already, Kakashi. I think that Sasuke and Sakura are more than tired enough. This mission was an utter fail. It was supposed to be a C rank, but it turned into an A. This is outrageous. I will stay. No. We will all go. But I will leave several shadow clones in my stay. They will finish the bridge for Tazuna. We will collect whatever money he can give us, so that we at least get something out of this mission. If Sasuke and Sakura cannot walk, heck, if you can't walk, I'll carry you all back on my back with shadow clones. Now then, let's get out of here already. Naruto. Kakashi paused. His words trailed off and he didn't know what to say. And with that being said, this has been What If Naruto to Mentor Part 1. Now, if you are watching this as a movie, then just keep watching. If this is the end of Part 1 for you, make sure to like and subscribe button, share the video to friends, likes for this or just my content in general, as I do want to hit 30,000 subscribers before June. And with that being said, this has been RamiX. Check out the affiliate links in the description down below. And RamiX out. Upon getting back to the Leaf Village, Naruto began to train. He trained tirelessly, so much so that he passed out right in the middle of the training field. It was only when he woke up that he realized that he hadn't made it to his bed. He woke up in a cold sweat. He had a dream, you could say. The dream was peculiar. Whilst in the dream, Naruto saw his mentor. He saw Katana Titanica. He remembers seeing her. Her face, her white hair, her blue eyes, and behind her ninja headband. He remembers calling out her name again and again. Cat! 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 But he also remembers getting no response, no answer. All he got in response was a churn. Cat turned her head and looked at Naruto in the dream. And it was as if this single glare broke through Naruto's spirit. As if it made him remember the day that Cat sacrificed herself for him more and more. With that, Naruto was laughing to himself. Imagine she was still here watching me right now. She would tell me that my form's sloppy, and that I need to keep training. If only she was here to see how powerful I've gotten. To see how strong I've become. I bet now I could even give her a run for her money, Naruto said to himself, standing up and looking into the light sky. If you're watching me up there, Katana Titanica, thank you. You were the best teacher ever. And I love you. Even if you aren't here anymore. Naruto looked to the ground and clenched his fist. He then smiled. Alrighty. Naruto continued training until eventually Kakashi found him. Kakashi would tell Naruto that the Chunin exams would soon begin and instructed Naruto to teach under a mentor, or rather a Sannin known as Jiraiya. Naruto was a bit pushed off by the idea. Cat was his only mentor and he didn't want to be trained by anyone else. But he saw it as a small stepping stool to becoming a stronger ninja. To becoming the kind of ninja that, Katana would have wanted him to be. And so, he decided to train under Jiraiya. The panting is Naruto. He is trying to relearn a jutsu that he had been taught in the past. The summoning jutsu, to be exact. Now, he wasn't necessarily relearning it, but he had to divert a lot more chakra to create a bigger summoning. Naruto already had access to an eagle summoning, as he was taught by, Cat to use one. But he didn't, ever summon a creature that required so much chakra as a summoning toad, such as Gamabunta. And so, it took a few tries, but eventually he mastered it. Naruto also didn't have to start with water or any sort of walking on, water or wall chakra walking, because Naruto already knew these things because he was taught by, Katana. With that being said, after learning the summoning jutsu in a single day, Jiraiya decided that, Naruto should be ready to learn the Rasengan. With his chakra control decent, it only made sense. Especially since Kakashi was currently teaching Sasuke the Chidori. It would be then that they would begin learning the Rasengan, as Naruto would create several shadow clones to help speed up the process. He knew of the trick, as well he learned it during training. With that being said, Jiraiya suggested that he learn the multi-shadow clone jutsu. It's a better jutsu based off of the amount of chakra that Naruto has. Naruto took into, account what Jiraiya was saying and asked how to learn such a jutsu. Jiraiya tossed Naruto a scroll on his back, a mini one, not the large one that he carries, as he then told Naruto to look through it. You will see a section that shows you how to use, the multi-shadow clone jutsu, and several other substitution shadow clones, like the mud shadow clone jutsu. With that being said, Naruto looked through the scroll, and there it was. The multi-shadow clone jutsu. Or in other words, the, Kagebishuna jutsu. With that, Naruto decided to use, the multi-shadow clone jutsu, and upon using it, he created nearly 1,000 clones. The jutsu was much more catered to Naruto, and he was very happy that he took Jiraiya's advice. Training with 1,000 clones was a lot better than training with, a dozen. With that, Naruto managed to speed up his training by, well, hours, even days. He learned the Rasengan in just 2 days. Upon learning the Rasengan, Naruto began to try to master it. And after doing so in a few more days, Naruto decided that maybe this would be a good opportunity to refine his chakra natures. I don't know if I mentioned this previously, but Naruto already has access to wind, water, and lightning style from Chisuke, who is a sage. Now, Chisuke isn't a sage like, say, Jiraiya or even Orochimaru. Chisuke is a sage like, say, well, a literal summoning. You see, when, well, Katana couldn't train Naruto, she would just summon Chisuke, which was basically a mentor to Naruto whenever Kat couldn't. Now, what is Chisuke? Chisuke is a frog of sorts, similar to the Ma and Pa frogs. But she is different in her own various ways. With that being said, Naruto refined his skills and managed to begin adding, wind style to his Rasengan. And although it did take him several weeks, which led into the tuning exams, Naruto managed to master the wind style Rasengan. He was close to obtaining something akin to the wind style Rasen Shuriken even. With that being said, on the day of the tuning exams, Naruto was prepared. He took the written exam and, he actually got perfect. He also had the fastest run of the written exam in, Konoha history, finishing the whole exam in just 3 minutes. With that being said, Naruto afterwards went on to compete in the Forest of Death with Sakura and Sasuke. Upon entering the Forest of Death, Naruto could sense something was wrong. The air was much tighter than it usually was, and he sensed a high chakra signature. 2, in fact. One happened to be Gaara, the one-tailed Jinchuriki, although Naruto had no knowledge of this. The other happened to be different. Naruto felt good about the chakra that he sensed that happened to be Gaara's. This was only because it reminded himself of his, own chakra. Although it was menacing, it had a friendly side, hidden under all of the darkness. It reminded him of the Kyuubi, rather than himself. But, with that being said, Naruto still questions both chakra signatures, especially the one with so much malice and darkness surrounding it. He could only assume that if he were to run into those two, it would spell trouble and possibly even doom for his squad. So he alerted Sasuke and Sakura and told them that if he tells them to run, it means that those 2 chakra natures are closing in on them. If they had all happened to be working in a team, it could spell death for any one of them. This is because Naruto couldn't deduce just how strong they were. Even if they were, say, only tuning level, Naruto didn't know this. The energy, the chakra, it was different. So no matter how strong they were, Naruto couldn't tell this just based off of where they were currently. Although Naruto had refined sensory skill, these 2 chakra signatures were way out of Naruto's ability. It was because they are different. They have a certain oomph, if you will, that other chakra natures don't. It makes these 2 chakra natures unique. It means that Naruto cannot get a certain gauge on just how strong they are. After explaining it to Sasuke and Sakura, they understood, nodding. They then continued the walk throughout the forest as Naruto sent shadow clones in each direction of the forest to, collect scrolls. Naruto sent out about 100 shadow clones to be exact, and out of his 100 shadow clones, 12 survived. The others, it's unsure what happened to them. Naruto had several clones. That was true. But Naruto knew exactly what happened to them. You see, after they dispersed, Naruto regained the memories of the Shadow Clones. He remembers 2 vivid ones. Most of the others were random kills, but 2 in specific stood out to him. A boy, red-haired, eyeshadows, or what appeared to be heavy eye bags, and light blue eyes in the middle of his eyes, with a mark of blood upon his forehead, with the kanji of love, and a gourd on his back. Traveling alongside him was a puppeteer and a fan master, a woman and a boy. He used an attack that was peculiar, unorthodox, something that Naruto had never seen in all of his travels, even with katana, let alone on his own. He couldn't figure out a name as well. The Shadow Clone wasn't alive that long. But he knew that was one of the chakras he sensed. As for the other vivid memory he recalls that was, different from all the others, it was, Naruto actually couldn't tell whether it was a guy or a girl. It just appeared to be someone. They were somewhat tall, and their tongue was much larger than the average tongue. Never mind the fact that they also seemed to, be hiding something. Some sort of power. As if they were much stronger than they were letting on. They also already had all of the scrolls needed to exit the forest. Naruto knew this to be the other chakra signature. Naruto sighed. It looks like I'll have to be taking those 2 on. Either that, or we'll narrowly escape the forest of death with our lives. What makes you so certain, Naruto? Sakura asked. What makes you so certain that we're just gonna die if we don't run away or something? I'm overestimating them. That's better than underestimating them, isn't it, Sakura? Well, it is, Naruto. Naruto nodded slowly. Yeah, and one of them, they were able to use their sand to completely destroy my Shadow Clone. They trapped it in sand and I'm positive if they've ran into any other candidates, whoever they ran into are no longer alive. That boy, whoever he happens to be, kills with anger, ire, lust, hatred, and a sense of no love for the world or people that reside within it. It sickens me to my stomach. Anyways, the Shadow Clones that have returned to me have brought the scrolls necessary to leave. I say we escape now. Sasuke and Sakura nodded in tandem as they began to, run off to leave the forest. About halfway through running, a tree in front of them was cut down. Naruto used his sensory abilities to make out chakra signatures. He was able to deduce that the weapon used was not a sword, but a mere kunai. Naruto stepped back. Someone with that much strength behind a single kunai strike was someone who Naruto needed to be careful around. Now, Naruto wasn't weak, he knew this. But if he wanted to avoid killing someone in these exams, especially killing someone with no remorse, then, he had to be careful. With that, Naruto tightened his grasp on his blade, slowly approaching. Dust covered his face now. His hair even began to stand up due to the wind created from the slamming of the tree on the ground. Naruto could now sense the chakra about a meter away as Naruto spoke. "And who are you?" Naruto said, in a high and condescending voice. I am nobody of your concern." This was in fact Orochimaru, the snake Sanin and, well, former member of the Hidden Leaf Village. Naruto said nothing. Heck, he actually frowned. "No one. You assume that just because I don't know your name, you're nobody to me. You are everything to me. First of all, you are a coward. Second of all, you are powerful. I deduced that the moment that tree went down. A kunai? What person can cut an entire gigantic assortment of trees with a single kunai? Originally, I thought it was one single tree, but upon closer inspection, I see that it's several. No weak individual could do that, especially no average individual. You're hiding something, I'm certain of it." Naruto yawned. "I just can't put my finger on what it is. Now then, I ask this question. What do you want? If it's the scrolls, you're not going to get them. If you have an extra of one, and, well, we have an extra of one, we can maybe do an equal exchange. No casualties, no injuries. Either that or you leave my sight now, or I promise you I will raise my blade to you. To injure," Naruto said, not yet closing his mouth before clicking his tongue against the roof of his mouth to speak once more. "Or to kill." Naruto said this, closing his mouth and creating a straight face. One that showed Orochimaru that Naruto was serious. That Naruto believed that he could do such a thing. Orochimaru smirked. "Well then, I suppose I'll be taking all of your scrolls. Show me that power of yours, boy." Orochimaru began with a slight jutsu of snakes protruding from his mouth. Naruto was amused, but also surprised. He drew his blade, cutting through all of them. He made sure not to cut Orochimaru's head clean off. Naruto wasn't that brutal. He then appeared behind Orochimaru, stabbing his blade right through him. "What has happened?" "I've stabbed my blade right through your chest, you stinking snake." "Ah, I see. You have some spunk for a young upstart, you brat. And you have the nerve to call me an upstart. Huh. Is that so? Know your place, Snake Sanin." "Huh?" It would be then that Naruto clapped his hands together. Dome walls began to make around, Orochimaru. They began to even latch onto him, similar to wood style, but this was a mud style jutsu. Unfortunately, I can't actually use mud style, but I sealed it away in this scroll. The jutsu is perfect for this very moment. I don't wish to kill you, although I believe if I allow you to stay free before anyone else leaves this forest, you'll create a death toll of your own. Now then, goodbye, Snake Sanin." Naruto watched as Sasuke and Sakura began to run away. They knew the exit already. They could actually faintly see it. Naruto slowly walked away as Orochimaru spoke. "Wait," Orochimaru said. It would be then that Naruto turned, looking straight in his eyes. with a look of bloodlust. It was so powerful that Orochimaru didn't want to say anything more, in fear that his head would be ripped from his neck, in fear that he would be cut into a million pieces and dissected like a cricket. Possibly even like the snake he was. And so he stood there. He said nothing. Nothing at all. It would be then. Then Naruto smirked. Was the bloodlust I let off a little too much for you, Orochimaru? For a snake Sani of the Hidden Leaf Village, that's kind of weak of you, don't you think? My question was... I'll spit it out already. I'm getting bored. And I need to catch up with my teammates. My question was, how did you know it was Orochimaru? A Sound Village headband. Orochimaru was the village leader of the Sound Village. My old master taught me that. Second, your voice, really snaky. Your appearance, really snaky. Your tongue, not human at all. Oh, and that jutsu, a dead giveaway. Your skills and proficiency, another dead giveaway. Oh, and did I forget to mention your wits? It's also as if you've never, well... It's also as if you never thought about scoping out this place. I saw your movements beforehand. A smart ninja like you would mark certain trees or say, just leave certain cues for them to follow within a certain area that they've never seen before. Especially like this forest of death. It leads me to believe that you are Orochimaru, the Sannin, or rather former Sannin. Someone who used to be a member of this village. Someone who possibly participated in this very exam before. During the war, I'd assume. Orochimaru stayed silent. He said nothing, but he did ask of Naruto's name. Naruto paused. He wondered if he should actually give Orochimaru in. My name is Naruto. Naruto Titanica. Now then. I've decided I'll leave this place. I've decided I will not return. Not to see your face. And so, Orochimaru, I shall be sealing you away. Sealing Jutsu! Smudgalik Temple! I now guide you into this basin! Come, Orochimaru! Orochimaru's body, couldn't help but be guided to the basin. It was filled with water, a water-style sealing jutsu. The water then trapped Orochimaru, and, the basin shrunk to be able to be carried in Naruto's palm. Upon grabbing Orochimaru, who was now sealed within a basin, a small basin, Naruto traveled to Lord Third, Hiruzen's office to be exact. Upon entering, he brandished the basin in his hand. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow. What is that, Naruto? Naruto paused. It's the Sannin Orochimaru. What? Yes. I sealed him away within this basin. If it was up to me, he would be dead right here. But I'm aware that he was once your own student. I'm also aware that you're the third Hokage, of course. Everybody and their mother, father, brother, and sister know that. They also know that Orochimaru was a deserter, a rogue ninja. I'm aware of the fact that Orochimaru experimented on countless Leaf Shinobi, and that he kidnapped countless Leaf children, civilians. promising children of the academy were stolen from their families by this man. But even if I wanted to kill him, which I do, I know that your judgment would be far better than mine. You're wiser than I am. So, do with him as you please, Lord Third. Me and my team just barely escaped the forest of death. There is another within that forest, with an interesting chakra signature. It is my understanding that he has most likely already killed several. And how are you sure of this, Naruto? He was remorseless. He had no idea that my shadow clone was real or fake, and yet he prompted to swiftly kill him. He's just the kind of guy that would kill in the forest of death. This information will be duly noted. You may dismiss yourself now. And one more thing. Yes, Lord Third? Thank you, Naruto. It is because of ninja like you, shinobi like you, that the leaf stands strong. Hiruzen then stared deeply at the basin within his hand as Naruto left the room. What am I to do with you, Orochimaru? Hiruzen said under his breath. Hiruzen sighed. With that, we switch back to Naruto, who met back up with Sasuke and Sakura. Congratulating each other on, well, surviving the forest of death, they all went home to sleep another day to continue the Chunin exams later. Some time would pass and the Chunin exams would take place. Now, as for the preliminaries, these would be easy. For Sakura, the preliminaries go the same. For Sasuke, they go a little bit different, as Sasuke has been trained by Naruto a little bit in this timeline, and so he's just much stronger. And as for Naruto, well, Kiba would be one shot. With that being said, Naruto did kind of think of a similar jutsu to use when, well, with the one that he used in the canon. As many of you should be able to remember, Naruto used a farting attack to knock out Kiba. In this timeline, he does use something to attack Kiba's senses, but instead it is an overload of mixing water, fire, and wind to create a sort of sulfurous smell. With that being said, Naruto passes the preliminaries with no problem. Now, I see no reason why the Chunin exams cannot continue how they did in the canon, with a small change. That change would be, well, simple. Naruto, well, would fight Neji. My apologies. Neji, just like he had in the canon. But this fight would go on much differently, and so we'll get into it. Naruto began the fight by pulling out a scroll from his ninja pouch. Neji was astonished. A scroll? He believed Naruto to be the brutish type. At least, that's what he thought. With that, Naruto placed his palm on the scroll, after opening it, of course. Then, a massive spume of smoke came out of the scroll. It was enough to cover a wide amount of the arena. The smoke revealed nothing, but as soon as it was cleared, it revealed everything. A small to medium size weapon in Naruto's right hand, and a shield in Naruto's left, bearing the symbol of what appeared to be a ship, and, well, Naruto's very own Uzumaki crest. With that being said, Neji had to clear the wind, and so Naruto was able to deduce that, well, Neji was pretty adept at using the Hyuga clan's jutsu. Of course, he already knew that Neji was a Hyuga, but, well, now he saw him easily use Hyuga clan techniques to clear the smoke that he used with the scroll. With that being said, Why is there a ship and an Uzumaki crest on Naruto's shield? Well, it's actually very simple. Naruto brandishes the shield and, well, the Uzumaki crest because his master, Katana Titanica, came from a clan that's marked was a ship. A traveling clan that went from sea to sea, nation to nation. The Titanicas. And, of course, his own Uzumaki clan crest. Funny enough, Titanica knew, well, the Titanica clan knew many things about the Uzumaki. And as for Katana Titanica herself, she was actually well adept in knowledge of the Uzumaki. She had even met several during her time as a shinobi. It is not yet known how old Katana is in the series, but that will be revealed later on. With that being said, Naruto allowed Neji to come to him first, but Neji was more stagnant than Naruto would have hoped. Neji only came forth to, well, attack after Naruto put some sort of effort in. And thus, they had a duel. Naruto rose what appeared to be a blade, clashing with Neji's kunai. Now, Neji didn't prefer to wield a kunai at this point, but if it was needed to block himself from a sword attack, then he would do it no problem. With that, Naruto continued to attack. Neji could barely block. And eventually, the fight was clearly in Naruto's favor. Neji dropped the kunai to attack using some sort of Hyuga technique. As Naruto dodged said technique, it would be then that he pulled back his shield, slamming it head first into Neji. The attack sent Neji flying into the arena wall. With a giant goose egg on his head now, and visible pain done to Neji. Neji was at a loss here. He didn't know how to attack, he didn't know how to win. Whilst it seemed that Naruto had every single jutsu he needed to defeat Neji. Neji seemed like an open book at this time. And so, Naruto, in a last effort to, well, finish off Neji, implanted his blade into the dirt, and also did the same with his shield, knocking it into the ground. It would be then that he added/applied chakra to his feet, rushing towards Neji. Neji scoffed. "You really think an attack such as this would defeat me? You are a fool, Uzumaki Naruto. Destiny already decided this fight." Destiny! At this point, Naruto's about halfway to Neji, as they continued speaking to one another. "I don't give a damn about Destiny." Well, you should. Destiny decided that Neji Hyuga was stronger than Naruto, and thus beat him. "Destiny can kiss my..." Naruto jumped into the air. It would be then that he rose his foot to attack Neji. But before the attack was successful, and Naruto was about to say, well, kick my ass, the attack was, well, blocked. Neji turned into a rotation, as Naruto, well, was hit off by the rotation, which sent him flying and spiraling. He then made his balance switch into a different pace as he landed on the ground, trying to conceal the fact that he was completely knocked off guard. He then prepared a jutsu. Water style. Raging Waves Jutsu. Upon using the jutsu, the side of the arena that Neji was on was filled with water. It was up to his feet. Naruto then smirked. "Has anyone ever taught you about what happens when lightning touches water?" Naruto then yelled out, "Lightning style! Lightning Ball Jutsu!" Several lightning balls appeared, slamming into the water, and causing Neji to be electrocuted before he could even make his next move. It would be then that Neji fell to his knees. Naruto Uzumaki is the winner. Naruto's hand was risen to the air, as he was declared the winner of the fight. Naruto smirked. Well, that was easy. Naruto then picked up his blade and his shield as he placed them back into his scroll. Kakashi wasn't sure, but something about the sword and shield was special. Not like some normal weapon concealed in a seal. It was as if it was sacred, as if it had some sort of special ability attached to it. But he wasn't certain if he should even make such an hypothesis until Guy said something. "Hey, Kakashi." Guy turned. And so did Kakashi, looking directly at Guy. Kakashi was dumbfounded, as he then asked, "Why would you say my name just to turn away?" Guy looked back. I was just fooling around. But I have a question." "Yeah, go on." "Well, you know your student, Naruto Uzumaki. Well, what about him? Is it just me, or that sword and shield he pulled out were special?" What do you mean by that, Guy?" "Well, maybe it's a stupid theory, hypothesis, or whatever you want to call it. But the shield and the sword, they appeared to be, well, they appeared to have a chakra signature of their own." That's exactly what I was thinking. That's what Kakashi thought, at least. That's not what he said. He replied with a simple answer. "Well, maybe that's true. Or maybe Naruto just has so much chakra that he powered the weapons on his own. This new generation is quite interesting, isn't it, Guy?" "You can say that again. Just wait for Rock Lee. He's gonna show the Sand Ninja Gaara over there just how powerful the Leaf Village is." Guy went on to be right. Rock Lee's performance in the Chunin exams was, in Kakashi's own words, magnificent. With that being said, after the Chunin exams, I see no reason why the timeline cannot be the same, with Naruto being put on a squad to go basically find Gaara, Temari, and Kankuro and defeat them. And with that being said, I also see there being no reason why Naruto doesn't defeat Gaara in this timeline, and no reason why Naruto doesn't give Gaara some sort of talk no jutsu speak, or /takuso jutsu talk, quite literally, to basically just turn Gaara into like a good person. Basically, whatever he says to Gaara has the same effect that it had on him in the original timeline, even though it's not going to be the same, as, well, for a good portion of his life, he wasn't actually in the Leaf Village. He was, well, traveling with Kitana Titanica. With that being said, we now have a time skip of 2 years. At this point, Naruto is 14 years old, and so is Sasuke. They are both on a battlefield. What battlefield, you might be asking yourself? Well, funny enough, it is a war. Not a great ninja war, but a small war between nations. Due to the fact that it's not all nations participating in said war, and it's not more than one nation besides just two fighting, well, it's not considered a great ninja war. But for the Leaf, this was a very challenging war, and at any time, they could be destroyed by any of the rivaling nations, to be exact. And, well, out on the battlefield was Naruto and Sasuke. They had killed many ninja. All you could hear on the battlefield were screams, and, well, none came from the Leaf. Because, well, either there were Leaf ninja who were too scared to advance, in fear that they may be cut down in a similar fashion, or there were rivaling nations, / just one rivaling nation, which was the Stone Village, which was scared that, well, advancing any further would cause them to meet the same fate that their many brothers, cousins, sisters, and, well, aunts, uncles, everything in between, and, well, comrades had faced. With that being said, who caused these screams? These screams for pain. It was Sasuke and Naruto, who cut each ninja that attacked down effortlessly. It was nearing the end of the 16th day of the war, and this was the day that it was most brutal. The Stone Village decided to make 3 platoons of 2,000 nin, and Naruto and Sasuke overly exerted themselves dealing with the first 4,000. They assumed that that was it, and they were smart to assume such a thing. The Stone Village set up the platoons as if that was the last one. They even had many of their dying ninja say that, well, they're the last remaining platoon. This was because the ninjas sent on the mission knew that they were going to die. But they were ready to give their lives. For a better future? For a better future for, well, for the Leaf Village? Of course they were ready to lay their lives down. My apologies. I said a better future for the Leaf Village. I meant a better future for the Stone Village. With that being said, many Leaf Ninja had also fallen during the attacks. And, well, by the end of the last platoon, Naruto and Sasuke had defeated 7,999 ninja. 1 remained. Whilst on the Leaf Village side, all that remained was Sasuke and Naruto. It's a shame, Sasuke, Naruto said, looking over at Sasuke. Yeah, you're right. A lot more than that. It sucks. Although our platoon was only 400 strong, that's 400 ninja. Well, when you think about it like that, Sasuke, we killed over, well, what, 8,000 today? Tired, are you? No. This is just quite irritating. Huh. So irritating that you thought that we fought 2,000 more than the number we actually beat today? No, Sasuke. We defeated nearly 8,000. I suppose I wasn't keeping track then. Why must we fight, Sasuke? What do you mean? This war. Why did we even start it? Naruto, we didn't start this war. What? It was the Stone Village that started it. We wanted to make proper trade with them, but instead they found a reason to hate us. And what was that reason? The 4th Hokage, Minato Namikaze, embarrassed them in the old war. What? Why the hell does that matter? I wish I knew the answer to that. But the reasons why nations hold such grudges isn't... well, it's not common knowledge to me. Naruto immediately strengthened his demeanor. I just want this war to end already. Huh? So I'm going to end it myself. What? What do you mean? End it yourself. We're a team, Naruto. Well, unfortunately, you won't be coming with me, Sasuke. Yes, I will. That would mean that you'd die. You're aware of such a thing, right? What are you planning? What I'm planning is the death of the Stone Village. What? I don't give a damn about the stone. It's the Leaf Ninja that we lost today that I care about. Sure, we're all human, but this is war. You know the 9 tails? Yeah, what about it? You told me not that long ago that you mastered up to 4 tails of it. What's the matter? I'm going to make a deal with the 9 tails. A deal? I'm going to let the 9 tails out of its seal. After I do that, we will make a deal. Actually, before I do that, we'll make the deal. And what's the deal gonna be? The deal is going to be for the Nine-Tails to destroy the Hidden Stone Village. Is that really what you want? We wipe the Stone Village off the map. The leaf is saved. It also means that we won't be attacked after the war. All other nations will know that the Leaf Village nearly effortlessly completely wiped the Stone Village from the face of the map. All the while, Naruto played with a small clicking device. Well, how are you gonna sneak into the village? It's with this little fidget toy I've been using. What? I thought that was just to relieve stress. No. The more I click it, the stronger the explosion. The stronger the explosion, the more of a smoke screen. If I can create a strong enough smoke screen, then, well, I have just enough time to transform into the Nine-Tails. Or rather, for the Nine-Tails to control me. Naruto began to pant heavily, slowing his breathing and stopping the sound. Death to all stone ninja. Naruto, you know, if we win this, we'll be known as heroes. I'm gladly aware of the fact. But if we lose, you know we'll be looked at as, yes, we'll be looked at as war criminals. Men who disobeyed their orders upon being given none. Men who destroyed everything. I know. Well, and if you're prepared, I suppose I am too. I don't have these eyes for a reason. Well, I don't have them for a reason anymore. Itachi... Yes, I know. Well then, let us begin. Naruto and Sasuke took a few days to rest. Several Anbu squads were even dispatched to look for them on the battlefield, but they were nowhere to be found. They were assumed casualties of the Great War. Casualties that lit fires within the Leaf Village, whilst also dimming others. It lit fires within the Konoha 11 that wished to, honor their dead comrades, their dead friends. And it dimmed fires in cowardice Leaf Village ninja, who believed that Naruto and Sasuke were the key to ending the war. And without them, they were left to die. With that being said, 6 days after the night of, combat, Naruto and Sasuke set out to the Stone Village, arriving in just a few hours as the battlefield wasn't far from it. Upon arriving, they watered themselves. By that I just mean they drank water. They also fed themselves. With newfound energy, they began. Naruto grit his teeth. I wish we didn't have to do something like this. But before we do, Sasuke, I might just die. What? Well, I'm just saying the possibility for us dying is very high. Yeah. I'm aware of the fact. Don't worry. Alright then. Time to go. Naruto rushed into the village. Before doing so, he made the fidgety sound with his device once more. He called to the device a stonk. The sound was made once, and then once more to indicate attack. With that, he rushed into the village. He then transformed into the literal Nine-Tails. By surrendering his body to Kurama, the literal Nine-Tails came out. Although this had a high possibility of resulting in death, Sasuke fought alongside the Nine-Tails, taking out as many stone ninja as he could. He then transformed into his Susanoo. It should be noted that earlier I spoke of Itachi, how, well, Sasuke now no longer had a need for a Sharingan. This is because Itachi, well, gave Sasuke his Mangekyo after seeing Sasuke have it. It's a very long story and one that we won't talk about for the simplicity of this what-if, and also the length of it, as I wish for this what-if to be under an hour and 30 minutes. Completed story. And thus, he added his Susanoo to the Nine Tails. Now even Onoki couldn't hurt Kurama. The village was laid to waste. Absolute annihilation. And by the end of the day, the only thing that remained of the village was a small pillar, which was where most of the evacuees headed. They headed there for survival, for safety. But in reality, Kurama destroyed them all. He knew that after he detransformed, Naruto could probably die. So he wanted to fulfill Naruto's wishes to the fullest. With that being said, Naruto emerged from Kurama after Kurama was done, with Sasuke at his side. Sasuke was pretty beat up now. Several wounds, cuts, slashes in his, body. Naruto was even more so beat, except the pain wasn't much so very, I guess you could say, visible. It was an inside feeling of destruction, of nothing even. Naruto and Sasuke won, and Naruto, due to being an Uzumaki, even though he was just half Uzumaki, managed to survive. Sasuke and Naruto slowly returned to the Hidden Leaf Village. As they explained what happened on their travels, they were brandished as war heroes. Men who defied the odds and saved the Leaf Village for generations to come. With that, Naruto and Sasuke cemented themselves into the history of the Leaf Village forever. Naruto and Sasuke then went on to have legacies of their own that coexisted with one another. Naruto went on to become the 7th Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village. Just after the 6th Hokage, Kakashi was enlisted. He was only enlisted to, be a face for the people, and, to also show the village, that they still had strong ninja. Besides Naruto and Sasuke, he was also enlisted as Hokage to teach Naruto the ways of a Hokage. With that being said, many of you may be asking, who was the 5th Hokage? Well, the 5th Hokage was Tsunade, who was basically turned into the 5th Hokage when Naruto was 13 years old, about a year after the Forest Death, when Hiruzen believed he could no longer carry on being Hokage at the pace that he wished. With that being said, she was sobered up. Jiraiya came to her, with Naruto even, and, she, once more was given the Will of Fire, entrusted with the protection of the village as the 5th Hokage. She then relinquished her duties and gave them to Kakashi Hatake, who then gave them to Naruto when Naruto turned 21 years old. With that being said, Sasuke had his own legacy in tandem with Naruto's. He was the Kage that Naruto couldn't be. When Naruto was in the office doing paperwork, Sasuke was out on the battlefield or doing missions for the village. With that being said, he also did research and several other things that Naruto couldn't do because he didn't have the time. They also went on to have the same children that they did in the canon with the same shippings. Naruto with Hinata, Sasuke with Sakura, although Sasuke reluctantly married her. With that being said, I hope you guys all enjoyed today's video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button, as that would be deeply appreciated. Share the video to a friend like this, just anime, or just anime content in general. I'm so sorry that this video did not come out necessarily how I wanted it to. I tried for it, but I don't think it was necessarily to my standards. With that being said, I still do hope that all of you enjoyed today's video. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Share the video to a friend like so this for just anime content in general. With that being said, Rami X out.